Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is John with Tommy's Top Picks here to bring you your weekly market update. This may be a little bit quick because my fall is very busy. That is just typical in my line of work. So let's jump in quick and go through the numbers and share a little bit of news here and a little bit of economic discussion towards the end. Not too much, but a little bit. So let's go ahead and do it. ARC is down 9.62%. This is after the previous 104. So just call this, bouncing between highs and lows. I mean, we've seen this for a long time now, so nothing surprising. 94 is a perfectly fine place for it to land after a week after spiking up to 104. So I'm pleased with that. Seems to be maintaining the pattern. We'll see what happens in the long run. I did have a weird bug in TCG Player, and I'm curious if this will end up affecting the sales and such. But when I did a booster box search, I bring up all the booster boxes at once. I could not find the unlimited. I think it was the case actually that was the issue. Unlimited case in the listings for ARC, but if I typed in the search more specifically, like Arcane Rising, it did show up there. So it's there, it exists, but it didn't seem to be in the big listing. I'm not sure what that was about. Maybe it's just a bug or something didn't load properly on my side, but just might be worth keeping an eye on, because if they do end up somehow having a bug in the listing, it might be impossible for people to buy cases of it, which could have weird market consequences. Maybe not impossible, but more difficult, right? Because it's people go look for it and they can't find it, etc. Not a big deal, just something that I noted and was like, oh, that's weird. All right, Monarch's up 14%. This is the unlimited per box. It's $57, still a very reasonable price. Yeah, Monarch has always been a troubled child here. I would say it's interesting that we are getting up to, I apologize for the bidding if you heard that. I thought I muted that. Monarch coming up 14% is just interesting, considering it's had such downward pressure for so long, but you can't really get below 50 for very long. It just doesn't happen in Flesh and Blood boxes as far as we've seen, even in Unlimited. They tend to stay around 50 as kind of the floor, even post-map and all the rest. Maybe 44 at the lowest, things like that, right? So that's just what we're seeing here. It's bouncing back up, maybe demand's in there. I don't really see a main reason, unless people are looking at Prism for LL and the new Angel. That could be part of it. I don't know. If you have any ideas, leave a comment. I haven't seen anything to indicate why Unlimited Monarch boxes should jump up. It's not a huge jump. I mean, it's 14%, but it's from 50 to 57. Like, it's nothing crazy, right? We had that price a couple months ago. Nothing special there, but interesting. Tales of Aria is down 18%. I think that's reasonable because we've seen it kind of slowly creep up, and so this is just kind of that range bound we've seen since all the way back here. Actually, even further back, probably the whole time, honestly, for Tales of Aria Unlimited, because it's always been pretty low. We're bouncing around, nothing special there. It is interesting after the heat we had last week, that we're seeing a lot more down this week, but I'm not seeing as crazy a swing. We'll look at the charts to see what it looks like, but I'm guessing most of this is just bouncing around within the frame of its tended trend. So I'm going a little too fast. I've had a little bit too much coffee, so my mouth cannot keep up with my brain. So anyways, let's go to WTR cases, down 13.4% to 239. Again, same trend area that we've seen for the past few months, so nothing crazy there. We had a spike up during that last week. Not sure exactly what caused all that, but we're starting to cool again, back into normal ranges. We'll take a look at the charts to see what that looks like, but I'm not surprised by that. And it is notable that it's dropped down, ended up higher than its previous kind of low price, if you will. So it's upward pressure, we'll say, underlying pressure, and you should be able to see that in the charts themselves. So we'll look at that. Tales of Aria, 11.4% up. So this is after last week's heat. And a slow increase for about a month. I will say we've been at these levels a few months ago, and again, this is Unlimited. Tales of Aria Unlimited has always been an odd product because Tales First is just available. So I'm not sure who's buying it at these prices or why they're digging into this right now, but it is continual for 2 weeks, so it's something to keep an eye on to see what happens. If it breaks this, if it goes higher than this, then it's really notable, because 244 is where we were, a couple months ago. And I think that's important, right? That's breaking out from a kind of range bound area. So we'll keep an eye on for those breakouts because those are interesting moments economically. Now onto the more interesting stuff for me, I think, maybe for you guys too. I don't know. First edition boxes, 14% down. So we've seen the boxes dry up and disappear. We saw them spike in value where the listings were like 6,000. I'll be honest, I've checked a few times during the week, and this just popped up. This price just popped up, I think, 2 days ago. Before that, there wasn't any listed this low on it, so it was looking pretty tough to get them down in this 3,000 range. I think it was like around 4,000. It was a little less than 4,000, kind of like this area, right? So it was in that range for most of the week, but this just popped up the other day. And interestingly, obviously there's still the eBay listings, but there's just not that many listed. Let's talk about the case in a second, which is another interesting case study or situation. Everfest up 10.9 to 61. Again, we talked about this, kind of that 50 to 60 range is pretty standard. Post map, I don't know if Everfest is post map tier 2 yet. I don't think it is. So we can expect another decline on this theoretically. Don't quote me on that, but theoretically there could be another decline post second map ending. And I don't remember the exact days because it's like for the first 90 days is map 1, and then for the first 120 days or whatever, 60 days after, something like that is the map 2, and then all map drops off, and it's just market dynamics. And I'm not sure if we're out of map 2 for Everfest. If you know, let me know in the comments, because if we are, that's very promising. But I fully expect this to hit, these 50, 49 to 50 kind of last dump ranges, which I think is a pattern we can expect. Well, it's hard to say because this is pre 2.0, but I think it's something we can expect going forward. Let's see what happens post map on what's it called? Everfest? Not Everfest. Uprising. Because 2.0 will give us some indication as to the stability of post map market. We haven't gotten there yet. If Uprising ends up floating high over map, and some period, which we'll talk about in a second, but if it does that over a long term, then we're in a stronger market condition, which will end up indicating that we won't see these sorts of things again, where we get these $50, $40 boxes. And that means this is reflective purely of the excessive supply of this Monarch, Tails, and Everfest era. And that actually would be very interesting going forward because 2.0 is the future, and that means that's going to be a unique set. That's going to be our Ice Age set, where it was just printed to oblivion and they'll never gain value. That's not true. They'll gain value slowly compared to the other products, and that will be something very much worth keeping an eye on. So I have my eye on that. Anyways, moving on to WTR first edition cases, down 56%. So this is, again, we've been seeing this volatility, right? And we've talked about this in the past, where we see volatility for long periods and then settling into a new norm. So we're at a month and a week. I would say give it another 3 weeks before we start seeing a new norm settled. It's interesting. This popped back up, and I'm not sure if it's the same seller, if it's the same people or what, but for up until I think yesterday, because I've been keeping an eye on this one too, there was nothing listed this low. It was still at this price, and there's only 2 listings. There's this one and then there's this one. When we talked about it last week, they had disappeared, but there was some sales, if you recall. So now we have someone trying to get back in, but I believe it's below what the previous sales are. So they don't feel confident, or they don't feel like it's going to move fast enough at a price higher than this. So they're coming in lower, hoping to probably move it quickly. I still think it's crazy to spend that kind of money through TCG Player. I don't know, because you don't get to see it. Like, it's a very removed process, so I don't feel comfortable with it. It's much easier, in my opinion, if you get, information, the person. It's like someone you can track down because they work in this community or whatever. Like, them well or have a connection for that kind of transaction. But different strokes for different folks. Some people, this isn't that kind of money that matters. For me, it is. So anyways, point being is that we look at this and say, hey, we're back down to lows. We're actually below these previous lows, and we're below sales that happened recently, if I recall correctly. So if that's correct, then that's an indication of further downward pressure on this, and that helps, kind of justify this price here at the first edition boxes. But we know that there are very limited listings of this. So that is kind of a beat up on the premium, which is kind of nuts if you ask me. But it's also in the high-end product that doesn't have a lot of volume, so it's very hard to discern how real any of this is. And you got to remember, with TCG Player, you can have a sale listed, and then someone cancels the sale either on the seller or buyer side, and it will be delisted in there, but it's not obvious right away when that happens. So it could be this is the same one that did sell for higher than this, getting relisted because the sale fell through. So keep this one, take this with a grain of salt. Let's keep an eye on what happens. We may end up floating back down into this mid-range and just saying, oh, reality has struck. But these type of deals are hard to see go through. So just be aware of that. Anyways, something in the news that I thought was interesting. We had a sale. Let me get it on the screen. We had a sale of the Heart of Fangdale Rainbow Foil near mint for $420. They spiked on the meta. Michael Hamilton's deck and I think the Reiner deck used this as well. So 2 champions recently used this card in the deck. So we had this massive price spike. I think it was down at like 200 before this period, and then several sold, and you can see here 340, 350, 420, all the way up to 420 sold on 11/7. Now the listed price is 290. So kind of stinks for these people that it dropped so quickly. It is rainbow foil. It's relatively common. It's not super common because it's a fable, right? So they are rare, but we're talking about WTR here, which had a second wave printing in Unlimited for the big WTR event. Well, I don't know if it was second wave printing. Let's be fair. It may have just been a release to distribution. We don't actually know how that worked. But point being is we don't know how much WTR there is. The market indicates there is more WTR than ARC based on just prices of boxes and cases. But so this shouldn't have spiked the way it did. That was a pure hype spike. And when you see these things in the future, I mean, this is not financial advice, right? I just slink cardboard and talk about numbers. But when you see those types of spikes, they might be ideal opportunities to get out of positions. Now, the downside is you can regret getting out of position if the price never comes back down. And it's very hard to predict those things. But with something like this, where we know the box value isn't there, this is getting up to, like, isn't that more than a case? Yeah, it's more than a case. So it starts to make less and less sense, right? So just keep that in mind. When it makes less sense, be aware and figure out kind of what's the best move for you personally, right? Let's go ahead and jump into the section I wanted to talk about. So we got a new set. Awesome. Yay, Dynasty. It's amazing. Love it. I'm a big fan. Loving these Marvels. I don't know what to put on my shelf. I just don't know. Because last time I did all the little dragons, right? And then I capitulated and bought the big dragons at silly prices because I wanted it as art on my shelf. But now we're in a new set and I have to change my art on my shelf, and I don't know what I want because I don't really want to buy all of these, especially at these prices. So I'm not entirely sure what to get. I was thinking about the extended arts, maybe this tiger because I really like the tiger. The extended arts, the tomes, I love my tomes. Yeah, if you guys have any thoughts, leave it in the comment. What would be like a good iconic art series set of pieces to put on my shelf to kind of identify Dynasty? Obviously, I think if I had all the money in the world to spend and I wanted to spend over $100 for every one of these, I would, or close to that with shipping and taxes, right? I would, but I don't want to spend that kind of money. I was happy to spend the $20 for the little dragons, and then I did capitulate and buy the bigger ones at higher price, but I don't really want to do that again. I felt like that was a foolish move, right? We talked about that. So I think I need to do something different, and I'm not sure what, but I'm definitely going to do something for Dynasty. So let's get into some Dynasty cards. Best selling in Dynasty, obviously the boxes. Oh, this one's wild. I think as of right now it's short printed, but I could be wrong. It could just be high demand. Do you guys really think banishing blue cards is so meta that it indicates a 4x value to the other M's for the assassin? Let me know what you think in the comments. I think it's short printed because amongst my friends and circles and whatever, I don't think anyone's pulled many, maybe 1 or 2, and we all open cases. Like, it's not like we're not like big players. We're not opening 100 cases, right? But we open multiple cases amongst us each, and there's, you know, a good 20 of us, right? And so we have a fair sample size in our group, and these are not in our hands. We do not have them because we trade amongst ourselves. No one has them, right? Everyone's trying to find them. So I think they were short printed or clump printed, and which means maybe our region didn't get them, and they'll show up in, you know, I don't know, Canada or somewhere, and then this will all correct out. I also think we're early, right? Because it was last Friday was the release day where people could open boxes and everything. And I have 3.5 cases coming of that. I've only gotten one so far. I should get another case and a half today, I think. And then I have no idea. I haven't heard on my third. So with the hurricane, I think there might be distribution issues again, delays, etc. I know our local game store didn't get their cases for their customers until late on the day of release. Like they didn't have it for the day of release. So I'm thinking there's more logistic issues happening again, and we haven't seen the boxes open. So that says one thing very important to me and very important to you. Unless you absolutely need the cards, take a breath. Take a breath. Wait a week, 2 weeks. If you can afford to wait till after Thanksgiving, or even better after the holidays, because there's going to be a kind of an upward demand for holiday gift buying stuff, that might be your ideal time to get these cards, because I imagine once all the supply gets into the market, most of these prices are going to drop. And we saw this with Uprising, so don't take it as unusual. It's very normal, and that's okay, and that's viable. It's just, I think we're higher demand right now, but we don't have major competitions now that Worlds is over. We don't have major competitions coming up, so the demand is only for practice sessions, and so we might end up seeing a tapering off over the next few weeks as people do holiday stuff and whatever. So keep an eye on it. I wouldn't jump too hard on it. If there's something you absolutely need, you know, obviously do what you got to do, but I don't think there's anything that's worth that. On that note, this Marvel was holding at 4 something for a long time, and it just dropped down today. So I think this is going to come down. We might even get it as low as 200, or 200 range, so 2 to 300, which defies what I expected, because it's a usable Fable, and you want 3 of this, right? So I assumed that it would stay elevated for a long time. It seems the supply or whatever is matching the situation and allowing it to come down to this 384 range. Watch me be wrong, and next week it's 400 and never comes back down to 384, and I regret it. But we're starting to see prices come down, obviously products getting open, etc. Same with the Archangel, same with the Mechanoid. This one's going to be one of those that's rare until we get our boxes open. Yeah, I don't know what I want on my shelf. I'm thinking this because it's in full art, this in full art. Maybe the Doom full art, right? Because we have a couple of nice full arts. Maybe I do the full arts, the tomes, and the tiger. Maybe that's what I do for my shelf. I'm not sure. Or maybe assassin cards once they come down in foil. That could be cool. Like a set of assassins. Maybe make like a little montage of the assassin murdery stuff. Because the art on the assassin cards, I love it. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments. What should I put on my shelf that is kind of symbolic of this set? All right, let's go through the charts very quick. WTR, yeah, we're seeing that spike that we're talking about. Premium's back intact. Nothing really crazy there. Can you guys see the end of that? Let me double check. Yeah, you can. Okay, cool. ARC is flatlining up here, which is nice, and included premium. And it looks like the individual boxes are under the premium or under the case value, which is what you would expect. Crew, we see a premium intact. So that moment where premium was down like this was temporary for everything in the first 3. In the Monarch, we're obviously seeing it expand. Wow, is that right? You can buy, this is an arbitrage opportunity. You can buy a case for $38 a box and sell it for $50. This is an arbitrage opportunity. That's pretty good. That's 12, and it looks like it's going up, increasing. That was here. It's increasing on the next, so it's 38, and what was the price this time? 57. So $19 variance. So if you have access to like distributor levels or discounts or whatever, points, you know, you can get cash back, whatever. this now starts to look real, right, as a real arbitrage opportunity. I would not expect that to last long because anyone that has the capital can buy the cases, crack them, and sell them and flip them. Now, the one downside is it's Monarch, and so the volume's really low on sales. So it might not work out. You might get caught with a bunch of Monarch, which maybe that's not the best idea. All right, we'll move on from that idea. The premiums come back for Tales of Aria Unlimited. What a strange set that one is. And then Everfest, no data. I know that. I knew that. I always click it, but I know it. Anyways, WTR, here's our funky, janky little chart that's just been bouncing all over the place. Here's that premium consolidation. So still interesting. We're not getting any sort of premium bonus here, but it's worth keeping an eye on because if we get one of those weird market dynamic situations, it could end up working out. I guess if you can buy a case, that's the hard part. I wouldn't actually buy a case of this without really knowing what I'm doing and who I'm taking that case from. Anyways, so we do have a bit of arbitrage here. Nope, it's gone. It vanished this week. Yep. We said that wasn't going to last long because that was like $50. So that was on ARC. Down to Crew, we do have a little arbitrage here. It looks like $5-6, nothing crazy. Continued underlying. Again, like we said, the first 3 sets don't expect this to last too long because they are actually worth something and rare, especially in first edition. But it seems there's a little bit too much Crew. I'm imagining that was the Channel Fireball dump. I could be wrong on that, but I imagine that's what has caused that. It just got pushed out in cases a little too much and the market hasn't absorbed it yet. Because Crew isn't as exciting when you have Everfest and Dynasty, right? I mean, I like Crew and all, but Dynasty, it's got really powerful cards, and Uprising, I mean, not Uprising, Everfest did too for a lot of the classes. So if you're going to choose, like, I'm a player, right? Player market. Which box do I buy? Which supplemental do I buy? I don't think I'm buying Crew. I don't think I will because it doesn't have cards for the classes, right? Like the other ones do. So it has it for the classes up until that point, but that's missing quite a few classes at this point. So that's an interesting dynamic worth watching in the future. Anyways, moving on, where we're on Monarch. Yeah, the premium went away. That is not surprising on first edition. Tales of Varia, premium is back intact. Look at this wildness. Look at this. So here's our channel. This looks like a good upward pressure moment. We talked about that. And yeah, I mean, it's not, we're not there yet. I don't trust this because it can definitely go down in the next week, but it's good that it didn't drop down immediately again. But we had that here. It's like slowing down. You see how this is volatile. We're not sure which way. We're not sure. Maybe it's here. Nope, change our mind. Maybe it's here. Yeah, still downward pressure, right? We'll see. I think we'll continue to see it in this channel for a while, just based on that chart. Everfest, yeah, settling out, but then slumping under the high, right? This is kind of what you look at with this. We'll see if it drops, because if we get another drop down, but it tends to be higher than this, and I would say that's a general market upward pressure. It would be kind of early for that, and especially if that new map is coming out soon. Again, let me know in the comments if you know the dates on that Everfest map, because if that's about to happen, then this could have been like a market push to try to get rid of boxes at as high a price as possible. Doesn't quite make sense because I don't know how you manage that downward pressure until if map's coming, then it's going to drop off a hill. Anyways, premium is gone on this, so you got a little bit of an ARB opportunity, but not much. It looks like it is $5, less than $5, so not worth doing anything about that. Uprising, this is cool, right? It's cool to see it hop back up, right? I like that. That makes me feel really good about 2.0. I'm actually a little sad that I didn't buy my shelf case because I wanted to see how this went. I figured it'd stay down lower for longer, and it didn't. That's pretty cool. If this is our future, if this is how 2.0 goes going forward, I'm super excited. I kind of expect there to be another wave, but I don't have any intel on that, so I could be wrong. But if this is 2.0, man, I'm in. I'm in. I love that, right? It's okay for it to come down to map for the first release cycle, like that first few months, whatever. But then just back up because supply is only good enough for that amount of months. Now, part of the reason I think there should be another wave, or could be another wave, is because this is the only draftable set right now. It's the only one you can get. That's my thought. I think that's correct, right? I don't think you can get the others. No, you got to be able to get Tails. But no one wants to draft Tails anymore. Maybe they do now that they're tired of Uprising. Anyways, point being, it's a draftable product. Those tend to stay on shelves longer because you need to be able to draft them, stores do. So assuming LSS has that as part of the model and in mind for 2.0, we should be getting another wave. So I would expect that to come back down. Plus there's Black Friday sales and all this other stuff. So I'm not too sad that I didn't get it, but it is an interesting factor. Anyways, let's see here. A little bit of an ARB opportunity, but it's less than $1. So 50 cents. If you want to make 50 cents and do all that work, go for it. 50 cents a box. Yeah, interesting stuff. Very interesting. And the boxes are just steady eddy up. Look at that. Look at that pattern. That's nice. That is nice. Wow. Very cool. I like 2.0. I'm very fond. I appreciate it. We don't have a Dynasty chart yet because we only have one data point, so that doesn't make sense. We will add that next time. If you like the content, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. There's lots of little things asking you to leave a comment. Please respond, because I'm asking because I really want to know what people think out there. Appreciate those of you that really do enjoy interacting with you, and it's been fun getting feedback from the community. And sometimes, like, there's been some really smart takes. So I call it out when I see it, and I try to remember it for the next time. I even take notes occasionally. If I get it on my phone, I don't, because I'm out and about usually. But point being is I really do enjoy the interaction, and I do hope that you guys are getting something useful out of this. And only other thing I'll say is economically, things are shaky. The Fed is pushing hard on trying to get the economy to cool off. Inflation numbers have cooled off a bit, but are still upward. So like we're post peak on a lot of it, so it's quote unquote working. It's hard to say that though, and it's hard to take one data point and say it's a trend, because we just went off of peak, so we got to wait for another month or two, and if it keeps coming down, then it's working, and we might be able to navigate a slow landing. I know there's a lot of pressure to get the Fed to pivot now that we have one data point. That's dumb. The people that are pushing for that are ones that have equity, strong equity holdings, and are hoping to see the market continue to boom inevitably forever, sort of thing, which is impossible. It doesn't go forever. We have done a good job of keeping it going for a very long time. I think it's a record amount of time too. But it clearly has gotten into a situation that is untenable and particularly dangerous. And so what the Fed is doing is slowing things down, and I think it needs to continue to do that until we get to a point where our inflation issues basically go away. I'm not sure the exact timing. I'm not the Fed. I don't have their data. But if we pivot too early, it risks trapping us in like a decade-long stagflation era. And that would be exceedingly dangerous for companies, job seekers, individuals, 401ks, etc. You're talking about all the boomers retiring would basically end up impoverished, which would be very bad. And you'd have a lot of long-term knock-on effects. So I think it is wise the way the Fed is approaching it. This is unprecedented economic history, as we've talked about before, so it's not something that you can say it's definite or we have data that we know what we should be doing, because we don't. We've never been in this economic situation exactly before. It's very, very unique, which is interesting to watch, but terrifying to try to navigate and govern through. And so I think they're doing the right thing. I think crashing the economy a little bit is the best move. I know that's terrible. I don't like the idea of people losing jobs or whatever, but slowing things down is necessity right now. And inflation is still moving upwards, even if it's moving upwards slower. If you pivot too quickly, you get into stagflation, which means you have high inflation and stagnation of growth. And what ends up happening is everyone loses. It's a real bad situation. Go look up what happened in the 80s. It's not good. We do not want a lost decade when the boomers are in the midst of their peak retirement period. It would be devastating for the elderly in our community and the world. And then if we do manage to crash and do a short-term crash and turn it around relatively quickly with the economic tools we have these days, which are far more advanced than we used to have when we had crashes, a short V-type crash would be the most beneficial for resetting inflation rates and a lot of other things. And even the people that are arguing for a pivot now, this is the part that makes me crazy. You have very wealthy people that run funds or have high exposure to equities and are traumatized from past crashes, fair enough. calling for a pivot too early without realizing the implication is that it will hurt them too. So they don't know economics. They know their businesses. They know their, what they're doing, but they don't understand economics well enough to understand they are literally arguing for, on Twitter and other places, something that will harm them more over the next decade than if they were to back the Fed and continue this downward pressure that they're trying to implement. And I have to say, so far with the level of upward pressure and the downward pressure from the Fed, you're starting to see the equilibrium, which is what we want. We want a soft landing. We don't want a hard crash, right? That's very painful, but a crash enough to get us down where those upward pressures get muted back to norms. And then you can kind of start to take off again. Now, the Fed is notoriously bad at timing things, so they will probably go too far and cause a bit of a hardship crash at the end. But because they know how to navigate those, because we've had a lot of them, I have faith, and this is just me personally, have faith that they'll be able to turn around an overextended crash quickly, because they've done it a bunch of times in the past few decades. They know how to handle a crash. They have no idea how to handle this inflation thing, and I think they're doing a good job of trying to slow it and mute it without a real serious hard crash. So I don't know, hardships ahead. This next year will be crazy economically. It will be what it is, and we will all have to try to navigate it. I am continuing on my plan, just for those of you out there that are interested in that part. I have gotten the cold foils from the last set all on order except for a few of the higher end ones. I'm kind of waiting on those. I'm hesitant. I think they're going to come down a little bit more. They've just been on downward trends, so there's no point in rushing it. And then I am continuing my deployment over that 10-month period. As of next month, I think I have 5 months left. I have to double check my charts, but I believe I have 5 months left of deployment. That should put us right about the middle of next year, 23. And at that point, I will reassess the plan. I will probably continue to deploy because I imagine we'll still be in hardships unless we get a hard crash here and a quick V return. So I imagine we'll still be in hardships middle of next year, and I will probably continue to deploy at the same rate, if not faster. It depends on what's happening. If we're still on the downtrend, then I'll probably increase the rate over the time period. Based on the depth of the downtrend. If we are kind of flatlining or starting to go back up, because it's possible we've had kind of the soft landing at that point, then I will probably start to ease off of the acquisitions and start looking for exits on things. So that's just my plan, not financial advice. It's what I'm doing. Obviously, things change, and I have to react to those. So it's good to have plans for multiple use cases. So anyways, I hope you enjoy the content. If you do, hit the like, subscribe, pass this on. Sharing helps a lot apparently with the algorithm. So if you have a friend that might be interested in this content, share it with them. Really appreciate that. I think even just clicking the share button, so if you're doing the clicks and the comments and stuff, I think just clicking the share button helps the algorithm, so it gets spread to more people in YouTube searches and stuff. So that might be helpful if you're willing to do that. Appreciate it. Doesn't cost you a thing but a click. So anyways, I hope you guys are having fun, cracking packs, enjoying this new set. Boy, is it cool. I've been having a blast with Tommy playing games. We've been playing, like, I think every night we've played a game for a while now. So yeah, I hope you're enjoying this hobby that we all love, and it's the reason we're all in this, right? It's for fun and enjoying it with your friends, which we do. So anyways, I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you next time.